Hey y'all, my name is Josh. So y'all probably already know I create fitness content, but what y'all probably don't know is that I am an avid fan of horror and horror movies. So seeing some of my other favorite creators do this, I wanted to come on here and start doing some horror reviews. And my first one ever today will be for The Strangers Chapter 1. So, I am a massive fan of the Strangers series. I've seen both of the previous movies. My favorite one was The Strangers Prey at Night in 2018. I thought that was so well done and just a really great horror movie. I really had a dear place in my heart for The Strangers, and that's where we get into the disappointment of The Strangers Chapter 1. But first, we'll have to start with the pros of this, and I just wanted to let y'all know there will be spoilers in this video. We're going to be talking about the plot and things that happen, so you have been warned if you're planning on going to see it. So first, the pros. I only have two pros. First, the trailer. I got the trailer in a YouTube ad while watching YouTube. I thought the trailer was really great. First of all, I was just so excited. I'm like, oh my god, the Strangers are back. And I also liked the atmosphere that it set in the movie with the song playing in the trailer, which was Trouble by Cage the Elephant. Thought that set the scene amazing. I remember I just got some butterflies. I was so hyped. I'm like, I gotta go see this movie. That's the first pro, and that's not even about the movie. That was just the trailer. That was just the marketing. The second pro about this series is the recreation of a very cool and, a shot that was memorable to me from the 2008 remake. In the original, the 2008 one, there is a shot where the main character, the girl, is, smoking in the kitchen, and the Baghead stranger walks into the background of the house and just stares at her. And there's no music sting, there's no jump scare, he just kind of stands there and then he disappears. And I thought that was really cool and very unique. Now, they do recreate the scene, sorta, in the new one. Her boyfriend is outside going to pick up food, she's in the house alone, she's playing the piano, and it goes behind her, so her back is to the camera, and the baghead guy is sitting there in the chair, but you can only kind of see him. Where you can really see him is up above her head, there's a mirror, and it shows back and it shows him sitting there. And I thought that was not as good as the 2008 scene, but still a really good try at it and a very cool scene. That was a part in the theater where I was like, oh shit, look at that, like, that's awesome. So, and then, that after that, they kind of overplayed the he's in the house with her. They did it one time where he was looking at her in the shower. It wasn't a creative shot. It was just kind of weird. And then he vanishes like a ghost. So, not cool with that, but I did appreciate that they tried to recreate some of the creativity from the original that made it so good. And now we have to move on to the cons, which, man, there are a lot of them, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately because I just love this series so much, and it's just disappointing to have the movie turn out the way it is, but we will go into detail with it. I got a little hungry. For the bad parts of this movie, we basically have to break it down into bad writing leading to a bad plot and bad characters. So I feel like this movie was ultimately an output of the writer's strike. It was definitely written around that time, and that's why it's been released now that the writer's strike is over. But it's hard to say that with the writing because a lot of horror movies nowadays, sadly enough, come out with terrible writing, forced plots, shallow characters, and they just use all the tropes of horror and don't create anything original, and that's just how it is. So it's hard to say that The Strangers was, a unique experience of bad writing. I see it a lot nowadays, and it makes it hard to watch horror, especially new ones, and be excited. But it was unexpected coming out of the Strangers genre. So we start off with two characters, a boyfriend and girlfriend. Don't even remember the dude's name, he was so unmemorable. The girl's name was Maya, I believe. And they're going on some trip. It really doesn't even explain. It doesn't matter. Any of the details that they put into this movie for character development never ended up mattering. Car breaks down and they end up at a Airbnb, something like that. And the boyfriend realizes he forgot his inhaler in town, and the girlfriend wants food, so they leave. And before that, they talked about something about getting married. Before he goes back into town, they do their classic thing for The Strangers, which I love, which is the girl knocking on the door saying, "Is Tamara home?" And these two fantastic characters, which I don't think they're bad actors. They were kind of unknown, but like, I think the writing was just bad because the girl knocks on the door and says, "Is Tamara here?" And they open the door and they're like, "No, Tamara's not here." And then she like walks away. And then the girlfriend, Maya, is like, "Well, that was weird." Like straight out of like a fucking 2001 cartoon. Like, I can't believe people are still saying this in 2024 in their movies. I was in disbelief. I was laughing to myself in the theater. And then anyway, boyfriend goes into town, girlfriend stays, and there's a bunch of weird stuff going on. We see like 5 times that the Baghead stranger's in the house. Like, they just hammered into us. It's not like, oh, he might be there, he might not be. No, he like I said, watches her in the shower. Kind of weird. He stands behind her. He moves. He does like a little shadow pass past her. It's nothing was scary about it. And then she is smoking, and she goes to, the lights get cut off, so she goes to turn on she goes to turn on the fuse box, and the doll face girl pops up right in front of her, and she gets scared, runs away, and hides in a closet. Then her boyfriend comes home and is like, "Hey, what are you doing in here?" And she's like, "I saw a person right in front of me." And then they go over to the spot where she saw someone, and it's pretty fucking ridiculous, but she saw a guy right in front of her. It doesn't matter if she was smoking weed. It's not that powerful. She still had a person jump in front of her, right in front of her face. And her boyfriend goes in and is like, "Oh, you must have seen this." And then he like turns, and it's like see those posters over there? It was like that far away, and it was a picture of like a clown. And he was like, "That's what you saw right there." And then he proceeds to say the weed, which is called Freak Brothers. He goes, "That Freak Brothers stuff can be pretty strong." And she's like, "Oh yeah, I guess it is." Which I can't imagine anybody was taking themselves seriously writing this movie. Like, I don't understand how you put that into your movie and you're like, "Oh yeah, that made the final cut, no revisions." Like, it's just, it wasn't even like comedy relief. Like, nobody in the theater laughed. It was just like ridiculous. I don't know. But anyway, moving on. But the next thing I had a big problem with was there's a scene where the fridge isn't working, and it's like 9:30 at night, and she calls the guy who owns the Airbnb, which I don't even know how they got into the Airbnb. They didn't like talk to anybody. They were just like, "Oh yeah, you can move in here. The owner's out hunting." And we're like, "Okay." So she calls the owner and is like, "Hey, the fridge isn't working. Come fix it at 9:30 at night." But the problem with the writing, though, is they really didn't make a big focus on who she was calling or what she was doing. It was just kind of a throwaway line, just like every other line of dialogue in this movie. And then, so anyway, the strangers are just fucking with them the whole time. There's a part where the Baghead guy, he breaks down the door that they're hiding in, and they just sit there like against the wall like, "We're gonna die." And then he looks at them, and, you know, classic strangers, he like walks away. He's just messing with them. And then they proceed to go, "Is he gone? I think he's gone." And then the boyfriend goes up and looks out the door, and she's like, "All right, he's gone." And then they get up and leave the room. And then they're like, "Oh wait, they're not gone." Like, it's just like, it's not even like being a stupid horror movie character. It's just tough to watch people act this dumb. Like, it's not even good bad. It's just atrocious. And anyway, they run to the shed. They grab the hunter, because the guy who owned the Airbnb was a hunter. They grab his gun, and they hear some rustling around. And the boyfriend turns the corner and shoots the first guy he sees in the face. And it turns out to be the owner of the Airbnb coming back to fix their fridge at like 2 in the morning, which, you know, I see why he shot him, because why would he be there at 2 in the morning? But regardless, that is really dumb writing. The problem with the writing too is that they didn't set it up to be like shocked or even upset or anything that they shot the owner, because you didn't really know who they just shot. You just saw a guy with his face blown off, and then the girl has to go, "Oh my god, I think that's the owner. Oh my god," like she has to say it because they didn't set it up well enough. So it was dumb. And that leads to the next part where, you know, they're running around hiding from the strangers. Strangers are doing stupid shit, just messing with them. And it wasn't classic, like good, like scary strangers. It was just like, they're just fucking around doing like nothing and just prolonging the movie. The movie could have been an hour long. But anyway, they're out in the woods, and the boyfriend corners the doll face girl. and puts the shotgun to the back of her head. And she starts like cackling, which I guess if you don't know The Strangers, and because this was like kind of a standalone film, they'd have to explain, oh, they're crazy, they just kill for fun. But they literally like made her sound like a default like stock witch sound effect. Like she was cackling like a witch, and I thought they might have like screen recorded it off YouTube and put it in the movie. And then he says this shit, he's holding the shotgun, and it's like, you know, we can leave this shit behind in the stupid, cheesy Final Destination films and these stupid one-liners. And he goes, he goes, you know how they say your first kill is always the hardest? Which immediately I thought, who says that? I've never heard that saying in my entire life. But then he goes, well, you're my second kill. And it was like, again, who wrote this shit and was like, yes, put this in the movie, that shit is hard? It most certainly was not. And anyway, he proceeds to just not shoot her. And both the boyfriend and the girlfriend end up tied up. And they wake up, and it's just like it's a framed scene so that you can only see them two. And they're talking to each other, and they're like being all sentimental because they're tied up and they think they're gonna die. And he's like, do you want to marry me? And oh, it's so sweet. And she's like, yes. I kid you not, like in the middle of this scene, then he just takes like a knife to the gut, and he's like, oh my god, I got stabbed. And the girlfriend's like, oh, like so shocked he got stabbed. And then it frames it again from behind them, and all three strangers were standing there listening to them talk to each other. And we just couldn't see because it was frame weird, but clearly the characters knew that the three strangers were just standing there watching them, and then just stood up and stabbed them. Why did they act surprised about that? Why were they being all lovey-dovey in front of each other when these three like people that literally are trying to kill them are just standing there? It was just absolutely ridiculous shit. Push the boyfriend over, he's dead. Then the girl sits there and she has her moment where from the trailer where she's like, why are you doing this? And they're like, because you're here. And like, I thought that was a good classic Strangers line. If only they had used any other inspiration from the former Strangers movies throughout the entire movie. These characters literally were not the Strangers. They were just non-speaking, like, brute actors that just walk around and do shit. And apparently, like, disappear and appear like ghosts. Like, they would, like, teleport all the time, and it wasn't even scary. It was just stupid. But anyway, she's, like, mad at them, and the baghead guy, like, looks at her, and she's like, fuck you. It's like, it was not tough either. None of this was, like, confidence or anything. It was just stupid. And then he just, like, stands there for, like, a dramatic amount of time, and then stabs her right in the heart. And she's like surprised and like, Then they push her chair over and then they leave. And it's like, oh, they died. Like, it was really hard to care that they were dead because I mentioned this to my friends, but not only were the characters underdeveloped and hard to care about, throughout the movie, it didn't seem like one time that they like were trying to really escape or that they were really scared that they were gonna die. Never really seemed like, oh my god, this is a real thing, we need to get out of here as quick as possible because we're gonna die from these people. It was just kind of like they just fucked around the whole time and just went in circles doing nothing. But it made it hard to care about them being killed because they never even really tried to escape. They did some semantics and then ended up captured very easily, very predictably. Anyway, and then, of course, just to finish with for such a tropey movie, such a trope to end it off, before the credits roll, they go to her and she's in the hospital. And she moves, and it's like, to be continued, and it's like, they're trying to make it into a bigger series, maybe a standalone series. I didn't care about her in the first place, so I'm not gonna go watch another movie that she's in, the girlfriend. I don't care if she lived or died. And then it goes to a mid-credit scene, which, you know, fun fact, I accidentally walked back into the theater to catch up with my friends because one of my friends was missing his wallet, and I happened to catch the mid-credit scene, which, hooray, it was her, and she like wakes up in the hospital and the stranger's right beside her in the bed, which, you know, if they do make another movie, we already know that's going to be inconsequential. That's going to mean nothing. It was just meant to get people to come back. So, pretty ridiculous stuff. I just can't help but feel a little disappointed. I mean, it's funny how bad it was to me. I'm not that upset about it. It's just pretty goofy. I'll take the two Strangers movies and hold them in my heart, and this one, you know, whatever. And it just seems clear to me, you know, this was a movie that was pumped out too quickly, rushed in production, and also really just capitalized off of the Strangers name. I don't think it really had anything to do with the Strangers series, besides, you know, using the same villains. it was just really the owners of The Stranger's name pumping out another movie with that name to try to get people to buy tickets, and then they just put out, you know, a shitty movie, which sucks, but it does happen a lot these days with horror, you know, with sequel after sequel after sequel using the same name. So it's not anything I'm surprised by. And I was going to talk about, you know, as far as it being a standalone goes, this is where I came with the one plot hole, which was in the trailer. I believe it says something about see how The Strangers started, because, you know, another spoiler, but The Strangers died in the 2018 one. The brother and sister won and killed them all, allegedly. You know, they always come back one way or another. But this was supposed to be like before that all happened, how The Strangers got their start, and they had different costumes. They looked definitely younger. I mean, you can't see their face, but one girl had shorter hair than she did. And this is my problem, where when you look at the 2008 movie, they got flip phones and just classic 2008 technology. And in this movie, which apparently takes place before the first Strangers, they couldn't even take the time to get the technology right, in which they have iPhones and they have push to start cars, and it's just, it clearly takes place in 2024, which, you know, the movie was so lazily written. I don't even care about that. I just thought I'd note that. I mean, it's ridiculous. But as far as this movie goes, am I happy The Strangers are back? Yes. Am I gonna go see another Strangers movie anytime soon? No. And I definitely won't be seeing it under the same director and writers and producers until they maybe bring back the guys who did the first few movies. So if you want to go see this, you might have a laugh. I laughed a lot in the theater. If you want to go see it, go check it out. It's in theaters now. Leave a comment if you've seen it and let me know what you think. And let me know what you guys think of this new video style. So I appreciate y'all for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. If you'd like to go get yourself some gym clothes, which is kind of random in this, but I just started a new brand deal with Titan. If you go to the store, use code THAR, T-H-A-R, for 15% off in the store. And they got some quality clothes over there, so make sure you go check them out. Thank you guys for watching this new style video. I hope to make more of these. I love doing this kind of thing. So thanks guys, see ya.